It's like I never know how to sit on this couch.
Right? It's a little uncomfortable. That's the intro.
That's the intro. Welcome to the Rample Ranters.
Yeah. Hello, welcome to the next episode of Rample Ranters, the show where two college guys talk about things that are a little out of their comfort zone. Today,
Like girls,
yeah.
Well,
funny enough, interesting transition. Today, I thought we would talk about the importance and profundity of emotions and how sometimes they could be useful, sometimes they could be not useful. Are they necessary? Like the whole gambit of the debate on emotions.
And that's a really interesting. I don't know. It's a good theme. It can get really a little tiptoey when it comes to it. Like,
yeah,
when you're talking about a detrimental emotion, I know the film Inside Out makes you feel like every emotion is felt for a reason and every emotion is healthy.
yeah. No, that's. Oh man, I love Inside Out.
It's really important to teach that to younger kids, especially.
And there were like teachers and child psychologists that were coming out saying because of this movie, we bought like the plush dolls of the emotions and are using them to illustrate, allowing the kids to use those plush toys to illustrate their own emotions. And they say it's crazy, crazy good.
It's super interesting because I know I never was taught that each emotion was good. I mean, I think I fell under the stigma. You're a guy. You can't cry. You can't feel sad.
Yeah.
So it was definitely harder to feel sad.
Grow a pair.
Yeah, feel okay being upset. You just kind of had to push it down.
Yeah, and bottle it up, which there's a statistic that says that's one of the reasons that men have a higher suicide rate is because they just bottle it up and bottle it up and bottle it up, and they reach a breaking point. Yeah.
And it almost like, because I'm in my brain right now, I'm disagreeing with myself. It's like, don't fucking cry. God, I really tried not to curse on this podcast. Okay, that's it. That's the last one. But anyway, I'm
the one that does the bleeping, so he feels sorry for me.
So like inside myself, I'm like, don't cry, don't be a pansy, you know. Almost feeling like there's some kind of honor in not crying, that I'm going to be considered more of a man
like
if I don't cry.
Superior to people who allow to wear their emotions on their sleeve.
Almost a superiority thing, yeah.
For sure. That's interesting why society,
or
at least the society that we've grown up in, really wants to instill that in the young boys.
Mm-hmm. Well, at least I can see a group or a section of people who want to instill that. I don't believe it's our society now that wants to make sure it's okay that guys.
I think
guys
we're
can
moving
cry.
away from it just because I believe that our society is becoming more liberal.
Yeah.
So, and more so than not, they are okay with accepting emotions and allowing people to.
Oh, definitely. There's
showcase what they're actually feeling.
Increase from the 90s in allowing boys to cry. So getting back to the question at hand, what emotions are the most beneficial and what emotions are the most detrimental to an individual?
So let's just take a step back and be a little bit broader for a second.
Okay.
What do you think that emotions are necessary?
I'm going to have to analyze this without emotion first off and say no.
So you think that humans, like broad strokes, the human race would be better off without emotional capacity?
Whoa, you jumped.
No, like,
over
and that's
a couple
necessary.
Fences.
No, but that's what I meant by necessary.
By necessary as like an evolutionary trait.
Sure, yeah, if you want to go that way.
Well, in the way that I thought about it at the beginning was that is it necessary to survive to live a life with no emotion? Is that a possibility? Do you have to have emotions to live? And of course not. I mean, sociopaths and Psychopaths, they are proof of that. But for the
They
entire human race,
they feel emotion. They just don't feel empathy.
okay,
Which is the
but they don't
ability-
act on their emotions either.
sometimes.
Right.
That's case by case.
Okay. But the entire human civilization, that's interesting because you're getting into the whole AI thing. You're getting into where we're essentially living data processors.
Well, okay.
Because emotion
if I can backtrack a little bit, I watched Her last night for the first time. Spike Jonze, you are a genius. if you one day you watch this video, thank you for creating that movie. But Samantha, Scarlett Johansson's character, definitely displays emotions.
because she was programmed to. She said at the very beginning she has the personalities of all of the coders that created her, and then she has intuition to the point where she can feel things on top of that. So essentially she was a human soul. What I think Spike Jonze was getting at was she was a human soul without the body. But she had the data processing of a computer. That's why she could read that baby names book
in 2/100ths of a second.
Exactly. So I think emotion is important if you're going to stem creativity and stem inspiration from it. You know,
Sure.
Because what made Scarlett Johansson or Samantha like the name Samantha? It was emotion. I mean, there was something that triggered her about that. Maybe it was one of the coders had a mother named Samantha, and that's what eventually made her decision. But
Okay.
I guess if you're thinking about like a 1984 kind of situation, you'd have to gauge that society that they live in at that point, because I would say that's a society without emotion other than rage.
Or where emotion is policed.
Right. That's a good way of putting that. To a society where emotion is just like it is today, pardon me. It runs rampant. It drives our media. It drives our presidential elections.
Yeah. I was talking to, it might have been you about this, that this is one of, I feel like, the first election in modern history where most of the campaign is built on pathos.
Yeah.
Instead of logos or ethos. That there is a lot of ethos, like it's Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump establishing their credibility.
Yeah.
And destroying the credibility of others. But it's the pathos, the emotional connection that they're trying to instill in the masses.
Yeah. I actually heard a great argument to vote for Donald Trump last night.
Let me hear it.
So you can't vote Hillary in because she's a traitor, right? And I obviously came up with the definition or the argument. Trump's a traitor as well. I mean, he outsources all of his jobs to other countries, killing
I wouldn't
the
say
American.
that's traitorous. I would say that's hypocritical.
Yeah, I guess that's a better way of putting it. But she said that Trump is a bigot and Trump is a horrible person, but he's not a politician. Essentially, that argument. I'm not doing this justice at all, but I remember thinking at the time, that's a little bit more put together thought process than I would have ever thought a Trump supporter to have. I guess shots fired. I don't know why I brought that up if I didn't actually have the pivotal viewpoint that
Well, we're rambling.
Yeah, that's a good
Half the
point.
name.
That's a good point.
Yeah, so you think that emotions are not necessary on an individual scale, but are necessary as a racial scale?
I do.
That's an interesting.
Because speaking as an artist, I think that the best creations come out of the rawest form of emotions. I had that discussion a lot freshman year. The best, or Chandler would always say, he's like, the best art comes out from the deepest suffering, or the grandest glee and euphoria. So I feel
just
like
the strongest forms of each individual emotion.
Yeah, and curiosity, I think, is an emotion in itself. I feel like it's a combination of those raw emotions.
Have you ever seen the Wheel of Emotion?
The Wheel of Emotion?
Yeah.
I have not.
So it was introduced to me as a writer's tool, but so like the color wheel.
Yeah.
Where basically goes from all the primaries to all the secondaries to all the tertiary
Tertiaries.
colors, and then has the shades of all of them going in and out. It does that with emotion.
That's interesting.
So it goes from like so one of the most interesting things that I've seen on that is like the lighter shade of sadness, like the less extreme version of it, is boredom.
Really?
And that's the way that this color wheel puts it. But it has like, then it goes from boredom, little sadness, and then it goes to like the most extreme version, but in a circle.
Depression or sorrow. That's interesting.
That's in there, yeah.
That's very interesting. I definitely think that creativity would be one of the more defined colors on that color wheel, or defined emotions.
I wouldn't say that creativity is an emotion, though.
Or curiosity, I meant.
Sure, okay.
Curiosity. Yeah. I feel like that's definitely essential for a society to evolve in the right manner. Because if it's just, if it's no emotion, then that means that there's no joy, that there's no need for something else. I'm not going to be, if I feel happy from this plate of pasta, I don't need a plate of pasta with a little bit of basil in it. Thus, I don't need to go get the basil. So I'm content.
So there's no motivation
Right.
to
Progress.
improve.
Yeah.
Progress is a great word.
You're
yeah.
just stagnant as a
Yeah.
society. Once you get to this efficient way of living, you don't necessarily need to change anything.
So why do you think that people without emotion can also be productive on an individual scale?
Maybe it's their environment. Maybe it's the inclusion of, what's up, text message? Like being around other people who are emotional. Maybe they manipulate. Maybe they bounce ideas off of. Maybe the others having an emotion is almost essential to them not feeling emotion. Because if they might have like a twinge of anger, they can see it in another person and not need to feel it themselves. And that keeps them
you're
focused.
saying that's empathy. And that's the definition of what antisocial personality disorder is not.
Okay. Well, then I'm not sure. When you say successful, I'm taking it as a direct counter, saying that can people who don't feel emotion be contributing to society in ways that, invention and stuff and progress. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure because I don't know.
Okay, so necessary. I do think it is necessary on some level for. I agree with you because if people didn't feel emotion, then there would be no need to. Well, no. That's interesting because you could think logically about something.
Yeah.
And think, no, this needs to be better, and you can analyze that without emotion.
Yeah.
And you could see, like, if I saw this fan and thought, I could design a better version of that fan. There's not necessarily
That's pride, isn't it?
No, I wouldn't view that as pride. It's like, I can logically think of a better design than that.
Yeah.
With, like, pretty emotionless. Mm-hmm. Now, I think there are things that wouldn't come about, like entertainment and amusement, like things of that nature.
Yeah, like theater.
Like most forms of art would not exist. I think the closest things that we would get to like entertainment and art would be philosophy without entertainment.
Yeah.
Because there would be no need to go and watch a movie except like, I guess, documentaries.
Yeah.
Like filming a pretty logical and analytical report on like an event or a process. But
this is how Rubik's Cubes are made. Everybody has one.
Fascinating. But yeah.
Okay, that was a good little can of worms.
Okay, so we've had a discussion on whether it's necessary. Mm-hmm. Do you think it's okay? No, let's make this one more specific. Do you think that what is the most useful emotion?
In terms of progress as a society,
No,
or to
not
an
necessarily.
individual?
Just blank. This is very specific and very broad. What is the most useful emotion?
Well, happiness can be a motivator and a reward.
Sure.
It can also, it's almost like loyalty. It can blind you. If you're super, super happy with the way things are, you might not want to seek out any other form of happiness. You know what I mean? It's almost like that
Are
contentment.
you saying that happiness is the most multifaceted emotion? Because I would counter that.
No, I don't think so. I'm saying that happiness is the first one that I think of being the most useful emotion because it's the most enjoyable emotion.
It's the one that people want the most.
Yeah,
The most desired thing is not necessarily the most useful thing, though.
that's right. I think anger
Is the most useful.
is the most useful emotion. And I'm talking from a dictator standpoint. I'm going to get the entire country that I lead angry. And usually when you have a group of people targeted at a common enemy, you get things done quickly and usually efficiently. So I would have to say anger in a way of manipulation would be the most useful emotion.
Okay.
That's a very that's a specific set of the word useful emotion.
Yeah, there's a very specific scenario in which that's applicable. But
Yeah.
when it is applied in that scenario,
So what do you think the most multifaceted emotion is? Would you say it's sadness?
I don't know. Because what would you say are like the most base emotions?
Well, let's go inside out. Fear, happiness, sadness, anger, and envy.
Disgust,
Disgust.
not envy.
Disgust.
Yeah. The most multifaceted, I would say, is either sadness or anger.
Yeah.
You can be happy and joyful and content and all that, whatever. But there are different shades of sadness. There are very, very many shades of anger. You can be frustrated.
They almost intertwine a lot.
Yeah,
Anger and
I
sadness.
think like those are the most connected because I feel like when people I think they're the most intertwined because when people like face adversity or like a not a very good situation, the most often most common responses to those are sadness and anger. They're very responsive.
Yeah. Reactionary.
Very reactionary. So you can be, and because of that, since there are so many things to respond to and react to, they almost have to be the most shaded so that you can apply each reaction to and it's not like,
I'd have to agree with you there because happiness, when you feel happy, you're just like, oh, I'm having a really good day.
you can be elated, you can be joyful, you can be euphoric, you can be happy, you can be content.
You don't really think about that too much, though.
No.
You don't necessarily like, what kind of happy am I feeling? When you're sad, you're so in your mind. When you're angry, you have so much time to just bottle it up and like just think about
Analyze it
exactly what you're angry at and how that makes you feel, whether you're furious or just kind of grumbled. It's definitely emotion. They're definitely emotions that you can you analyze more because they're so within yourself.
And I think and it's interesting because I feel like because those two are the most faceted, I think they're equally the most useful and the most destructive.
Yeah.
So when society generally moves forward,
Okay.
okay, what drove the civil rights movement?
Anger, definitely anger. Realizing the situation. I mean,
because those anger was a reaction to the set of laws and I don't want to say beliefs.
general mindset of society at the time.
Because of that,
Of white
they were
society.
angered by it and were spurred into action.
Yeah. Yeah. So then I guess that supports my claim that anger is definitely the most useful. Because sadness, this is why didn't say sadness, because sadness, you can definitely, you'll be like, oh shit, that sucks. I did it again. Okay.
You're fine.
But, oh, that sucks. We're so hurt and beaten down. But I'm just going to sit here. I'm just going to take it. I'm just going to be sad about it. Anger is that switch that, no, I'm not going to take this lying down. I'm going to get angry. So I think it's the most reactionary.
Sure. Okay. So in that sense, are you saying that anger is also the most destructive because you can react and destroy?
Yeah. Oh, definitely, definitely. Let's bring some comic books into this. The Green Lantern Corps or the Red Lantern Corps is one of the 7 cores of the whatever. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it's rage.
Asterisk.
And you seriously, the Red Lanterns are so full of rage that they cannot be controlled and they cannot be contained. So when they get into a situation when they're fighting and stuff, it's almost like, hey, we're all going to fight against this one enemy. Once that enemy is down, Red Lantern is now our biggest concern because it's so wild and just reactionary.
Sure.
Not a Kilowog. Kilowog is a Green Lantern. There's going to be a new Red Lantern in Injustice 2. I forgot his name. But it's going to be so cool, man. Yeah, it's really cool how DC does that with the emotions and the cores. Fear is one of the biggest cores. And actually, in DC Universe, they say that hope combined with willpower is the strongest color. It's the strong. There's no one core that is over the other. But
if you combine 2 of them,
and
hope and will, that's interesting.
because if you, I mean, it just almost analytically makes sense. If you have hope to achieve this power and you have the will to do it, doesn't matter if you don't actually if you're not physically able to do that, because the rings give you the ability to do things that you can't do physically. So it makes a lot of sense. But fear is also one of the most powerful.
Yeah.
And one of the most interesting is compassion, because the Indigo Lanterns, they don't ever interfere with anybody's affairs. They just kind of sit on their home planet, and they are understanding and empathetic towards the entire universe and all the bad stuff that is happening.
Okay.
And so I remember reading The Blackest Night, and they actually come out and they're like, okay, guys, you're screwing over the entire universe. We need to fix it, and we're going to assemble a group of the most powerful of each of the cores so we can destroy the Black Lanterns. And that was super cool. If you haven't read The Blackest Night, I highly suggest doing it. The Flash turns into a Blue Lantern, and it's
Spoilers.
So cool. Oh, look at this, wearing a Flash shirt. Yeah, no, it's so cool.
So, okay. So where do you think fear lines in with its usefulness and destructive capabilities?
Oh, I mean, look at Germany. Hitler instilling the fear of the Jews into the
Fear-mongering?
yeah, almost.
Yeah. So what do you think?
Fear ties into anger, doesn't it? Because I go to road rage immediately. Like, you're on the road and somebody makes you swerve for a little bit. And I think it was Louis C.K. who did a joke about this. He was like, you made me turn my wheel this way for a little bit of seconds, so I'm mad at you now. You know, people putting you outside your comfort zone gets you angry. It's because you don't want to feel vulnerable. You don't want to feel vulnerable. Yeah. Go ahead and say what you were going to say.
No, I'm just listening. So, do you, you almost presented it like a timeline. It's you are in a situation in which you have really no net feelings toward anything. Then an outside force instills fear in the situation, and then you react to that fear once the fear is generally resolved.
Definitely.
So,
like, when you know that you don't need to be you're not overcome by fear anymore.
yeah.
You point that in a direction, and if you have the ability to point that at a specific person or at a specific group, then that's where your anger comes in.
That's
Media does a really good job of that.
Oh yeah.
Hey, let's.
Turning fear into anger.
Yep.
Absolutely.
These Mexicans are going to rape and pillage all of America. We need to build a wall. Oh, I hate Mexicans now. These Syrian refugees are bringing in ISIS agents to the countries. Oh, now I hate Syrians. It's like it's so prevalent and it's so obvious that it's being done. But it still scares people. And the way that they present it, it's scary to people who see it being done. When it comes to the bombings in Massachusetts and
Boston Marathon.
the Boston Marathon, there was one in there was like 3 different ones recently.
In New York.
Yeah, in New York. The way
York
that
City.
they cover it and the way that they analyze it with that panel of people who are just there to look pretty and to scare people, it seems like those are the scariest people in America almost. Oh, this is what you need to be afraid of. Lock your doors. Vote.
Yeah, that I've never, I guess, made that connection between fear and anger before. But
I don't think I have either, but talking it out definitely.
they definitely have a very, very strong connection with each other.
And if we're getting really political, and if you can keep the people angry at an outside source or angry at each other because there's Syrians and Mexicans in this country, then the people won't look at where all of it's stemming from. The Oval Office, Congress, who is putting these laws into effect. Instead of actually doing something, we stay in
You establish
conflict.
a scapegoat, so that way they don't look at the root of the problem.
Right. A distraction.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think the most fascinating thing that's come out of this conversation is that we've almost like made a timeline of emotions.
Yeah.
It's like anger is a reaction to fear.
Different pathways.
Yeah. And yeah, that's just so fascinating to me. And I now want to go watch Inside Out and see how much fear and anger interact with each other.
If I remember correctly, they don't really. It didn't seem like there was much involvement. It seemed like disgust and anger were very much incorporated. And it actually, until Inside Out, I didn't consider disgust an emotion. I didn't see that as its own, like core, almost like a core emotion.
Yeah. I wonder so if you could replace disgust with one, what would it be?
Because, like, I mean, I immediately, when I see green, I think of envy, and I said that earlier. So maybe it's envy.
You consider envy an emotion?
I don't know if I do. Okay, fear. I'll go through the Green Lantern or the cores: willpower, hope, rage, compassion, love. I don't know. Well, that's kind of Scarlet Sapphires. I don't know if it's love or if it's just passion in general. And then there's selfishness or greed, and then the white light. But I'm missing some.
Oh, put them down at the bottom. Fill them in. But,
Yeah.
So
willpower maybe, but I feel like happiness incorporates hope and willpower. So I don't know, probably maybe greed. Maybe greed. I think that would be a really interesting emotion.
Okay. It's almost like the opposite of disgust. It's seeing something and not wanting it versus seeing something and wanting it.
Yeah. Then greed would definitely have some interconnections with happiness. You know, because happiness, you see something, you're like, oh, that makes me super happy. And then greed's like, let's take it. You know, let's bring that to us.
And I feel like if you had to combine two into greed, it would be anger and happiness.
Yeah. That's so cool. This is so cool.
Like
Talking about.
So what if we
this.
because they did a really good job of establishing a relationship and a connection between colors and emotions. Like what would it be like if we got like different shades and different amounts of emotions and combined them together? Like what would be those products?
Are you talking about like towards the end of the movie?
No, just like at all. Like,
Okay.
yeah.
So like what colors would maybe represent
Yeah,
those
that's just
emotions?
like, I don't know. That'd just be an interesting thing to talk about. I don't think, because I feel like we could talk about that the rest of the time.
Yeah. I mean, that kind of also incorporates the different lanterns.
Yeah. But yeah, them combining into each other and having different levels of
Yeah, definitely.
power. Uh, yeah. So, okay. Why do you think that for a long time, I don't want to say society.
I
again.
hate saying society, you
Yeah,
know?
and
It's just,
culture. It's like, I feel like it's,
so broad.
yeah, I really do too. So why do you think that there are sections of people that are afraid of feeling emotion? Or, okay, why do you think that even on an individual basis, we're afraid of feeling emotion? Because in my perspective, that's one of the main motivators for avoiding sobriety.
What do you mean by oh.
Like,
Okay, so
you don't want to
substance
feel
abuse, essentially.
not
Not
I wouldn't say
abuse.
abuse,
Yeah.
but indulging in that. Like, oh man, I am sad, so now I want to drink wine,
Yeah.
eat ice cream, and watch a movie. Or man, I just want to get high. Like,
Yeah.
why do you think that
I'd
we
like to
use those things?
smoke a bowl.
Inside joke. Why do you think that we, on an individual basis, try and use those substances to avoid the way that we want our psyches want to feel?
Oh man, I feel like that's just individual. Why do
That's
you
too
feel
much
that sadness is a weak emotion? We talked earlier about how men aren't allowed to cry and feel their feels because it's not manly. So maybe that's part of it. Maybe especially sadness, it's like sadness definitely triggers that substance incorporation. Anger, not so much. I mean, maybe cocaine.
No,
But-
but there's such a thing as angry drunk.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm
that's
gonna-
that's a
I'm-
good point.
I'm furious, so I'm gonna get wasted. So
That's
there-
not me, but
yeah,
I totally know what you're
it's
talking
not me
about.
either. But
Yeah.
like, okay, no, but okay, that's now, as I'm talking about this, there seems to be a distinction between using substances to indulge in what you're feeling and using substances to avoid what you're feeling.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
So, and of course, like different substances do different things.
Yeah, definitely. Tequila is different than wine, and beer is different than gin.
Yeah.
Oh,
even
gin.
even like beyond just like alcohol, like you drink alcohol for a generally different reason than you do smoking weed, or you smoke weed for different reasons than you
I mean, heck, you
drop
smoke-
acid. Like,
Smoke
there's
different types of weed for different reasons.
yeah, and even within like all those like broad alcohol, marijuana, like there are different categories of them that even differentiate even further. So where
That's why I think it's such an individual kind of emotion. Maybe if you find, I think that everybody kind of has their favorite drug. I mean, whether that's alcohol, marijuana, acid, or cocaine, there's got to be something that drug fills in you, or at least you've convinced it fills a specific hole.
So, do you think that because it's such an individual basis, that it's mostly empirical, or based on your own experience? Because you said that you yourself sort of designate that drug to fill this hole or void. Do you think that's partly entwined in the actual substance? Or do you think it's mostly due to experiences that you've had? Like, in the past, I felt this, did this, and then felt this.
As in, I felt this emotion, I did this drug, and I felt this result.
Yes. Do you think that's mostly due to the experience that you've had that one time and then attribute that feeling every time?
Oh, definitely,
Or-
definitely.
Or do you think that it's mostly due to the substance? Is it the person or the drug? I guess is what I'm getting at.
That makes you feel better. I think it's maybe the drug is more of a
Catalyst?
no, not a cat. Well, of course it's a catalyst, but the drug is definitely more stationary in what it does. Because
Sure.
I mean, most people when they smoke weed, they're just like, oh, man. You can kind of describe it, and also when you're drunk, but the individual will kind of take that and manipulate that and personalize it themselves to be their end all be all escape route.
Okay.
I guess. That's a hard one. That's really hard. It was hard. It was hard for you to explain the question. It was very hard to answer the question.
Yeah, well, I remember one time, like I just had this. My girlfriend broke up with me. What is it? I think it's almost a year now.
It's
But
right close to that.
that night I was like, no, because I was babysitting for a party, and I had like 10. Well, one, I had a level of responsibility because I was babysitting like 10 people.
Yeah.
It was awful. It was one of the worst nights of my life. But I remember thinking, no, I don't want to drink anything. I don't want to indulge in anything else.
Yeah.
I just want to allow myself, not even revel, but don't put up a gate to block anything I'm feeling. But I also don't want to give myself anything that'll increase what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
I just want what my brain is telling me to feel. I just want that to let it be and allow myself.
It's interesting that you
I
say
have
that.
right after I broke up with my girlfriend, I actually came up with I call it my John Green quote, but it's I may be sad, but I am strong. I am emotional, and I am strong. I will allow myself to feel the feelings that I'm feeling because I am strong. And I wrote that on my window, my mirror, for a few months after that breakup. And I don't know. I think I came up with it in the shower while I was like bawling my eyes out.
Yeah.
Because
It's good to have that realization that while you're bawling your eyes out, that this isn't weakness. Feeling this isn't meaning I lost in any way.
yeah, I think it's if I can extrapolate my own quote, but I
Jerk
wanted
yourself off a little bit more.
to my intellect. But it's like I think that it's emblematic of like people perceive sadness as weakness, and if you're emotional, you are not strong. But I wanted to,
You wanted to reassure yourself that that wasn't the case.
No,
Yeah, I understand that. That's a really good quote. That's a good reminder.
put that on a T-shirt or a poster.
Right.
When we get
Sell
merchandise, I'll sell that.
that. Episode 3 across the front and the quote on the back.
Boom.
Man, I had something. I was gonna say.
Yeah, I
completely
totally
forgot.
interrupted you. I'm sorry.
No, you're good, dude. I
was talking about my breakup, and I didn't want to do anything that would block or increase what I was feeling.
Oh, that's correct. Thank you very much. It's interesting that you say that because I know a lot of people, not so many people, but a lot of people, when they get sad, that's their first reaction is to where's the wine, where's the booze, and it's so like to see that, it saddens you. It's like, oh my gosh, but at the same time,
I get the attempt. I get it.
I did that. I totally understand that. That was a big part of my high school career was just extreme sadness and then Jack and Coke, gin and tonic, just to get to sleep. So I understand that. Don't get me wrong. But it's definitely now that I don't have that super temptation. It's much more beneficial to feel those feelings and just kind of have a day where you're just laying in bed and meh all day. That's right underneath your quote on the back of the shirt.
Because I am strong.
It's substance abuse. Okay, so this is what I wanted to talk about. I was like,
Okay.
Dawson, this is what we want to talk about in the next
This is what
podcast.
you want to talk about.
Right. What is the drunkest you've ever been? We don't need to know how you acquired alcohol. We don't need to be knowing who you were with. Just paint us a picture.
The drunkest or most intoxicated?
What do you mean by, what's the difference?
I was on additional things.
Okay, no. Just the drunkest.
Just
we'll get
the
into that
drunkest?
the most
I don't think I've ever been just drunk.
Yes, you have.
I don't remember it.
3 episodes ago. I found you here on this couch with your head down at 7 a.m.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, no, that was because I just didn't. It seems like since I've started like drinking a year ago,
Yeah,
that my ability to drink liquor has like exponentially decreased.
definitely.
So
definitely.
I didn't even like have that much. I probably had 5 drinks and I passed out. I don't remember. Oh man. I remember the drunkest I've
You
ever
do?
been.
Okay.
So we were, I won't say, I will use lots of generalities because if certain people see this, I will get very in trouble.
Yeah.
But me and a bunch of people went out of state. We flew somewhere else for a
yes.
certain event.
Yes.
And
I know exactly what you're
the event went successfully.
Yes.
So to celebrate, somebody grabbed green apple vodka.
That's some
And in the-
dangerous business right there.
Oh yeah, especially because we got slushies.
Ooh.
So what happened was, we just got the slushies and we put the vodka in it
The individual
in the hotel
things.
room.
Yeah.
And because they were in styrofoam cups, I couldn't really see where I was filling it in. So I just went.
2 shots of vodka?
Yeah, that's one of my favorite clips. But I did that, and I probably did that 2 or 3 more times. So in the course of like 45 minutes, I probably had like 20.
So did you also have the the slushy syrup within that drink?
Yeah.
Okay, so
So
on top
it masked the taste.
yeah, so you couldn't taste it, but on top of all of that, you're getting dehydrated from all the sugar you're drinking.
Yes, correct.
That's the biggest danger of mixed
So I
drinks.
probably had 3 slushies with like several seconds worth of pouring, and
several 2 shots of vodka.
many double shots of vodka. But I don't remember that night. The rest of that night. I remember like coming to over the toilet. I remember like patches. Like I went into blackout and came out of blackout and into blackout, out of blackout. And
Oh my gosh.
I remember waking up over this toilet and this girl like, all right, Dawson, you need to get to bed. And I'm like, yeah, I do. Because we're flying out tomorrow. And I wake up. I think my liver was just like, all right, Dawson, screw you. I'm done.
I'm
so
out.
I just remained drunk the rest of the next day. And
So it wasn't an enjoyable plane flight for you?
2 plane rides.
2 flights.
I had 2 flights.
Did you enjoy those?
Oh no. And I didn't throw up until the last 15 minutes of the second flight.
Oh, you almost made it.
I almost made it.
You almost made
I
it.
did. But I felt so weak. Like I went to my bed and could not physically get out of bed.
Mm-hmm.
I started like throwing up black, and
What the heck?
yeah, it was
Black.
not fun.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
I've never done
And like
that.
the supervisor came in and I was like, she's like, oh, where's Dawson? And everyone's like, he's in the bathroom. And she goes, Dawson, you in there? I go, she goes, okay, bye.
If the supervisor didn't know you were hungover,
No, I was drunk.
drunk.
That was when I was drunk. Yeah.
Well, if the supervisor didn't know that all she could
'Cause
have either thought was you going, either doing number 2 or number 1, man.
Yeah.
She didn't know you were hugging the toilet.
Yeah.
Man, my drunkest I've ever been. I think of two different situations. One I know that most people who know me would definitely pinpoint as the drunkest I've ever been. But the other one was at the very beginning of freshman year. There was a specific party, and I was wearing a toga, and I remember getting so sweaty, so disgustingly sweaty.
I remember everyone was sweaty that night.
And because it was just like a freaking mosh pit in that house. And I got so drunk that I started walking back. I was like, all right, we're going back. And so I was walking back with these two other people. And for some reason, just Barry Allen decided to come out within me. And I just started sprinting across campus, just dead Usain bolting. And then eventually I stopped. And I just laid down in the grass and looked at the stars. Eventually got a shower, somehow got to bed. Woke up the next day, realized what a mess I had made in the bathroom, so I cleaned that up.
Good roommate.
And then the other time was I was doing a performance at the same house, and it was a roast of good friends, and
He was the MC.
I was doing jokes, and I was getting down to like the last bit of my script. Like I had like no other jokes past this one individual, and I introduced him. And after he said his speech, I got up back up there, and I introduced him two or three more times. That's what I've been told. But I had an entire bottle of gin that night to myself. I think I poured a drink for one other person.
I think it was me.
It was you and one other person I remember now.
Yeah.
I was gone. I tried to fight one of the main.
This is all due to other people's testimony. He remembers none of this.
There was some video of it, but like I was so gone. I woke up with no shirt on. I woke up with so many drawings on my face. It was cock holster. It was pointing right at my mouth. Dicks everywhere.
Oh man!
And then I woke up. I put on my suit jacket and I walked back to my dorm. And I was just like, I did the whole meh in my bed for the next 24 hours. Now, with the little time that we have left, the most out of your mind wasted you've ever gotten when this other substance is not just alcohol. We're gonna say it was alcohol for the record, but
yeah, there is additional. But I pre-gamed way too hard.
yeah,
I went to a Halloween party and I just continued to drink there, and I started freaking out, and I'm like, yo, I'm wasted. So I grabbed, and one of my friends who came with me was just as drunk as I was. So we both got really motivated to grab all our friends, and we just like stood there, and like we're like hanging over each other, like, all right, you ready? Let's go. So we started like walking each other back to the room, and I ended up throwing up on myself that night.
Oh my God, I remember that. And then you
Oh man.
Oh my gosh.
Oof. Like I just woke up and all over myself. Yeah. That wasn't fun. But yeah.
I can't say much because I'm pretty sure that night at the roast I threw up on myself too.
Yeah.
You can get to that point.
Yeah, but I don't think like that night we were just trying to avoid or indulge in anything. Like just emotionally.
Didn't know exactly how much you could take.
Drinking, yeah.
I think it was in a sheer act of celebration. Halloween is in a pretty big, just celebratory mood.
Yeah.
At least freshman year. That was crazy.
You want to increase the amount of happiness that you get out of that night by being drunk.
Yeah, definitely.
Or indulging in other things. Yeah. Huh.
I remember it was at that house, and I indulged in every substance that I could have probably indulged in. I indulged in. Whether or not I had money for it, I somehow weaved my way into that circle and was just, happy to be there. And they would kind of just come around to me. I remember just there's video of me just running out into an alleyway and being like, I love everybody.
Oh no.
I said other things.
I have No, my favorite thing that I've ever caught on video with you is you were wearing an owl onesie.
Oh, yep.
And
This
you
is what I'm
ran
talking.
out to the alley. And he's like, Dawson, get my shoes off. I'm done. I'm like, all right, Tyler. So I'm like helping him take off.
You
his-
and Trenton were helping. me.
Yeah. And he's lying on the ground. And all he says is, oh my God, I love drugs.
And then I started screaming. I was like, Dawson's taking my clothes off. Rape! Rape!
Yeah, not.
After asking you to help me.
Yeah. That was.
Video of all of that. One of my proudest moments. Oh, no, it was freshman year. Jeez, my goodness. But yeah, I guess that's the most
Yeah.
effed up. I mean, definitely that is not going to stay the same. I mean, interview us in a year and see if that's still the worst we've been.
I hope so. I don't.
I do too.
I really don't. Well, somebody asked me like, because my roommate my freshman year, we had a discussion about this. Because I like finding a level of intoxication and then
Plateauing.
not even plateauing, just staying there.
Oh.
I need to retire that mic stand.
It's a good mic. I like your mic stand.
I was like, yeah, I like reaching this level where I'm comfortable and then staying there as long as possible.
Yeah.
And my roommate said, nah, I like getting as messed up as I possibly can every single time.
His philosophy.
I cannot understand that on any level.
It's the different type of stuff he indulges in. I mean,
Yeah.
with the alcohol, there's definitely a limit. With other things, there's not as clear of a line.
Sure.
But yeah, that philosophy, I agree with you. I hope that I don't get ever that messed up. But I know just from like how the world works, it's not going to be the last time that we get blackout drunk. I mean, hell, we're sophomores in college. Got plenty of time to make mistakes.
Oh, I don't want to think about that. All right. Yeah, we told you some embarrassing stories.
Dang, I hope job interviews don't come to this. So look at we found your podcast.
So, yeah, tell us any stories that you want strangers on the internet to know about. Respond to anything we said earlier. What do you think is the most useful or detrimental emotion?
Yeah, seriously, that was a great little conversation.
So, yeah, if you want to chime in, give your 2 cents on anything, please comment down and we'll respond to you. We're in the comment section. So, thank you for watching. Till next time.